my friends. It is I.
Just pulling out the liquor.
I was thinking about it, cameraman.
Yeah. Just putting a little in your coffee. Did you even get coffee?
I didn't even get coffee. And my desk is a mess. I think other people have been here. What is this water bottle?
Well, I think that is your water bottle.
No, it is not.
But I mean, yes, we did.
And the protein bar showed up. I mean, I'm glad about that because I like protein bars. I might do
okay, sounds good.
But no, this is a mess.
Okay, so we have a very small office.
We do.
Considering the operation that we are trying to accomplish here with Gooey Cube.
Yes.
And sometimes we do have to come into the studio to like say, I don't know, prep 68 games that we're running at GaryCon. However, that protein bar is not mine because I don't need protein bars, but I don't know where that one came from. Maybe there is someone who secretly came in here and just like uses your desk.
I don't know. It's
possible. That seems like a likely scenario.
It's possible. There's little snails look at, there's a duck.
So, Jariki says, Alphinius looks tired, still recovering from GaryCon.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, cameraman. So I got back, and I had to work for the day job, right?
I understand.
Right? Which you had to do the same.
Yep.
And so we get back, right? And there's no rest for the weary or the wicked, as it were, whichever
there
it is.
Ain't no rest for the wicked.
That money don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cage the Elephant, I believe.
I know. I think that might be your favorite song.
It's not my favorite song, but it's a great song.
It's the song that you play to get amped up.
It's one of them.
Yes. But I mean, you have played that song for me a whole lot.
So how many people in the chat know of Cage the Elephant and the song Ain't No Rest for the Wicked? I'd be curious about that.
Okay.
I'd be curious about that.
Oh, and Patrick says he has it on vinyl.
Nice. Vinyl. Wow. Yeah, it's that
Mr. Blawface, Mr. Blawface says, I do. Grey Wolf 469, I do. Late Zeus, I do.
Yes.
If you have not listened to that song, it is a good amp song. I don't know that it's good the way that sometimes you play it, which is like 20 times on repeat, but it does
20 times.
It does get you amped up, and it is a good song. So
it's a good song.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a great stream today. We're very excited. We get to do a little more walkthrough of the...
And I have energy because I took care of myself during GaryCon as best as I could.
Well, I didn't.
I know. You guys stay out and partied.
Partied, cameraman. This is called creative expression.
Yes, it's called. We have a lot of really cool people here who like to stay up late and drink in the lounge. We have karaoke. We have.
I didn't get to karaoke. I wanted to.
Well, you did get up on the dance floor.
I did. I did the boogie woogie oogie.
Yeah.
Or something like
Cassius
that.
says, has anyone checked Lawrence McNabb for brain snails? Perthalis seems terrifyingly enthusiastic about him lately. That's hilarious.
I thought he did a great job with the newsletter this week, by the way.
It was fun.
I thought it was fun.
Everyone should go check out the newsletter.
Yes, I even posted up a picture of...
I brought the picture.
Oh, you do? Oh, I guess we could do something.
Because you promised in the chat that if they joined us for social media, that you'd get to see this picture. So I did pull it. Let me figure out where it's at.
No, but I took it and put it in the Temple of Table Dancing Evil.
Yeah, I didn't take that one. I took this one.
I can't believe you didn't grab the table of the Temple of Table Dancing Evil.
Well, anyway, so you can see this is my brother dancing on a table. And then in the back you can see me sitting there like, really, this is actually happening. Like right behind me. Okay. And then Alphinius is like just chatting it up with people.
I didn't even know he's doing it.
I know. Well, you were also singing. This was Mr. Brightside.
Yeah.
Which apparently is a crowd favorite, which I had no idea. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Like everyone in the bar was like jamming out to that thing.
They were doing their
I did not know it was such a jam.
Does everyone in the chat think it's a jam?
So, I mean, maybe, there are songs that are not necessarily ones that you would jam out to privately, but are great karaoke songs.
I do agree.
Because the lyrics are easy to like remember and pick up.
I agree with that. And that's part,
yeah.
and catchy, right? That's why people like Myron the Ugly Troll, which we sang quite a few times.
Oh my God.
And people enjoyed it.
I agree. I think a subset of people really enjoy Myron.
But you have to find...
And I heard Matthew Lillard was singing along at least once.
Oh, yes. There were...
But I also heard you did it 4 times that night.
At least.
I was only there for the 2.
And at the booth, we did it a few times. It happened quite often, yes.
Puppet Spencer says Mandy doesn't do enough networking.
I agree with that. Camera Mandy, you need to be out there networking a little more.
I think I have found my place in the networking thing. So you and Lawrence like to be around a lot of people and having like a lot of, I'm better in like a one-on-one situation, because one of my favorite parts of the entire convention was I got to, so we went to this mixer at a place called, it's like a kind of like a dance bar called Evolve. They had like loud music and
How
stuff
come
like that.
you aren't showing yourself when you're going off on this
Fine.
diet?
I will talk. Hold on one second. I have to figure it out. There you go. Hey there. Anyway, so we went to this mixer and it was very loud and there's a lot of music and a lot of people, and
a place called Evolve.
Evolve. That's like it's in the convention.
I thought it was devolve. But
probably that's what happens. Towards the end of the night, that is what ends up happening.
All right, so you're at the devolve.
Yes. And I was just like, okay, this is a lot. I was trying to get a drink at the bar, but like the bar was packed and they were just ignoring me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. There's like this fire pit outside and there's no one by the fire pit outside. So I go and I sit by the fire pit. And then about 10 minutes later, yes, I did sit by the fire pit by myself for 10 minutes, really enjoying the fire pit. It was beautiful. But then this group of people come out and they're like, we're here to disrupt your peace, kind of thing. And they want to come sit by the fire pit. But who are these people except the owners and producers of the Crooked Moon campaign? And so I got to sit and talk with Derek, who is one of the owners of Crooked Moon and one of the original cast members of the stream that they do, for like 2 hours about Kickstarters and video production and marketing and messaging. And like that was probably, aside from hanging out with just our game masters, that was like probably the highlight of like GaryCon for me.
Well, and as you know, we have a little nod to the Crooked Moon people with Crooked Moon Road.
Crooked Moon Road.
Right? We put that in the environs of Gyzaengaxx, which is coming almost, we are close, Camera Mandy.
That is
so
exciting.
We're sending off, we were going to send off the files on Friday, but everybody was so burnt. I obviously the boys driving back, Alexander and Lawrence and Iad, we gave them the day off. They took the afternoon off when they got back and unloaded, and then took the next day off because they were exhausted. So we got them the day off, and then everybody's still burnt, right? Even the next day after that, right? So everybody's trying to get back to it, but we need one more review of the about 7 different files. We have our printer chosen. We think the money is going to work out decently, not as good as obviously as we hoped it would, but it'll be fine. And we're sending off to print, which
Yay!
is extremely exciting because can't wait to get that. But the environs, now Carrie is mad at me,
Oh, we're going down a path.
Did she tell you what?
No, I don't know.
Oh yeah, Carrie's mad at me because I've added a few pages.
Oh yeah, okay. Nothing new here. We're going to quickly go through a few GaryCon, and then I have other social media to show.
But you have to get the Temple of You Name It Evil because it's part of the contest. So somewhere along the line, you have to grab that screen cap out of the Facebook. Besides, people thought it was funny.
It was funny. Okay. Anyway, I am wearing my Temple shirt. I'll show it here in just a little bit. Okay, so very quickly, I'm just going to do a quick slideshow.
And while we're doing it, let's do a shout out to our amazing game masters.
This is Josh.
Our EO.
Well, we don't need to shout out me.
And Adam, who was your assistant.
Yes. Me and Adam are awesome. Okay, there, done. But these guys are the real superstars. So this is Joe. This is Andy. I did not get all of our game masters, unfortunately, but I tried to here. This Iad ran a game.
Yeah, you can just, Iad had to step in and took care of us. Alexander was like the super rock star of
rock
stars.
Well,
There's old Ben.
Yeah, look at that laugh Ben has.
He's doing the ha.
Yeah, there's something going on at this table, and like his players are laughing too. So I love that picture. And then here's Ben. Now Ben brought like sets for all of his games. Yes. So like he brought like full on terrain and everything like that to run. Here's your panel with Ed Greenwood, and look how packed that room is. Everyone loved that panel.
It was really good. It was. I'm sitting there with Ed, and this, one of my personal creative heroes, right? Uh-huh. And being able to talk about world building and storytelling, right, and methodologies, and I think we gave good value in that session to people. I had a number of people come up later and say how much they appreciated, because it's, what can you do in an hour, right? It's not like you can teach a whole course.
But I will tell you my favorite tip. How about this?
Yes, do it.
So for the I wasn't able to be there for the whole thing because we had to wrap up the other games. But when I came in, y'all were talking about how to start small and build out from there so you don't get burnt out on your campaigns and your world. So instead of trying to write your whole world all at once in the beginning, start small, start with a place, start with
Start with
people.
village, start with
Yeah.
a person, right?
Yeah, I thought that.
And really remember what you said about keep going, but we're starting
Yeah.
with people, right? Characters make the world, right? Characters and creatures, really. The rest of it is just sticks and built stones. you
Yeah.
know?
Anyway,
So-
I thought that whole panel was great, and we should have Ed on, and you guys should do just like a world building talk.
Yeah,
For Goo
we
Morning
can-
Zyathé.
In fact, I'm Ms. Goo and I are thinking about going and seeing Ed again because we've got to do. I think Ed is going to help us. We're going to start writing the Greenwood stuff.
Very
Even
nice.
Well before the Kickstarter.
Oh, I love that idea.
I knew you
Oh
would
my
love
God.
that idea.
The idea. The idea. No,
So
it's great.
but Ed has been, of course, contributing magnificently to the environs of
Byron's, yeah.
Gyzaengaxx, and also gave us the good foundation that Marvelous Patrick has been working on for the A Trouble with Rats adventure, which I think the sequel to that, because I think the way it's going to work is the Trouble with Rats thing, and Patrick and I got to talk about this, make sure it's going to work. But the Temple of Rats is really designed for a very low level party, first level.
The Temple of Rats.
Excuse me, A Trouble with Rats.
Is it going to turn into a Temple of
No,
Rats?
no, Trouble with Rats. Did I say Temple of Rats?
Yeah.
Trouble with Rats. So yeah, I've got the temple on my mind, as you know. So A Trouble with Rats, and then there's I can't remember the second one. We talked about a Scuttle with Skellies or something
Yeah.
like that. Would be the second one,
The one we didn't quite make.
and then A Hole in the Ground. There's a hole in
Yeah,
the ground.
I'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah, but
I'll-
all right, keep going.
Okay, so then I just closed out of a picture of Rob. I have other pictures of Rob, so I'm sorry, Rob.
What you just dumped? Poor
I
Rob?
accidentally look
You deleted
the
Rob.
button that says close is very close to the button I have to press to get the thing up on this. So just know
Got it.
Rob was there.
Camera Mandy, show yourself so I can blow my nose.
Oh my goodness.
You know this happens. You know, snot
Hi.
happens. Camera Mandy.
I'm just gonna mute you for a second. Anyway, okay, so these are our 4 tables that we ran. So we don't have a full room at GaryCon. We have 4 tables, which is how me and Adam are able to actually just EO it the whole weekend.
That was Austin. And...
I just muted us both. Are you done? Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, so here is, I'll go back. There's Ben,
Yep.
Austin, and Austin's in like a power pose.
Yeah, look at that.
He's like into
you
it. And then
bastards.
Josh, and then I don't know who's at the end
I
there.
can't really see who it is either.
I think that might be Timothy, maybe. I'm not sure who was at the end
I
there.
can't.
He has one of the
they're wearing
Gooey
a
Cube
Gooey
trucker.
hat.
Yeah.
Leo was wearing a Gooey hat at the convention. Timothy was, I think.
Yeah.
too. Can't see.
Okay. So these are the 5 guys who got the Knights of the Goo on this trip. So we got Ben, Rob, David, Chet, and Richard. And really, Ben has gotten it for his work in the community, game mastering for us, and he's just an overall great dude who's been around for a long time. Rob has written for us and game mastered for us. And then the other 3, Richard, Chet, and David, it's really about what they do in the community. So we,
Amazing,
just so you
yes.
know, like they're always in the chats, always engaging on people's posts, always talking about snails.
And other things, but
And
yes,
other
snails
things.
seem to dominate.
Yes, yes.
And of course, Chet has done some marvelous work for us.
And so I just want, so, and yeah, I just,
You don't necessarily have to be writing stuff
Or
to
game
get-
mastering.
Or game mastering. To
Yeah.
get, in fact, EOs, we've given it to a number of wonderful EOs who don't want to game master, right? But
Yes.
they love that, right? So,
Yeah.
no, it's marvelous.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then, oh, it's still on me. I'm gonna just like turn this back over to you. Okay, this was one of our new game masters, Joe. He made this post in the GaryCon thing, and he said that, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna brag on us just a little bit. He said,
There's no problem.
a huge
Brag
thanks,
away.
a huge thanks to Alphinius and Cameron Mandy for the chance to be a part of the Gooey Cube GM team, one of the elite GM teams in my honest opinion, and he has game mastered for a lot of people, including those directly at GaryCon. One of the elite.
I absolutely think it's true. I think it's true. I think, we provide some semblance of compensation, which removes many who don't compensate at all in any way, shape, or form. I can't say we're the greatest compensation, but I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, and their stipends.
And their stipends,
Yeah,
yes.
not like,
And
yeah.
and then on top of that, we provide a lot of good materials and support things, right, that help.
Oh yeah, he was like blown away by when I showed him our entire bin of stuff that spell lists and character sheets and character guides, and while he was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so Thank you, Joe, for the compliment.
And he also got some great reviews. In fact, I mean, it just was crazy how many great reviews.
Oh, we got excellent reviews all throughout the weekend from the Gary Con.
And again, you know, we got to give a little love, especially to Matt and Whit and Marvelous Casey, right?
Yes. And Mark.
Yeah,
the Get Team.
Marco.
Get Team.
And that little group of 4, along with you, Camera Mendy, has really done a yeoman's job of making it fantastic. Making
this thing work the way that it does.
Yeah.
And we only get better, bigger and better. And if you're interested in game mastering for us, we are currently interviewing for Gen Con. So just send an email to gooeygames@gooeycube.com.
Gooey Games at Gooey. Why are we back to this?
I don't know. I
Where
didn't mean
is the
to.
one that I wanted you to grab?
I didn't mean to. Oh, no, that was that one. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Okay, we're going really quick. Okay, so if I'm correct, this is Jay Scott.
Yes.
Is Lord,
Marvelous.
Is that Lord Gazumba?
Lord Gazumba.
So this is the guy we've been rating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves it. He said, thank you so much for, you didn't know that was who it was?
I did not know.
Oh, you didn't know it. You know who Lord Gazumba was.
Yes, I know Lord Gazumba. And like I messaged him like before the stream to say, I'm really sorry because I meant to connect with him. I think I met a Jay Scott at the convention. I'm almost positive that we ran into each other.
The real reason she went back early is because of too much.
Oh my gosh. No. Anyway, all that to say, we love Lord Gazumba and appreciate him. And I think we'll be doing some potential collaborations in the future.
Yeah, and this was a marvelous little panel, you know, and of course starring Ed, but there were some other wonderful folks there as well, that really knowledgeable people in the game industry, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
All right. This is Bunny, who does...
Zane.
And Zane.
Photo bombing.
Nice. And she does, I don't know exactly the extent of what she does, but I know she just did a Kickstarter with like really cool art pins and stuff like that. So I don't know if she does modules. I don't know the extent of everything, but
they've got a little business, and so we're actually going to talk to them about a couple things with some of the folks. So
very nice.
You know, we try to help.
Yeah. Okay, so here's Joe and Alex, and there's me photobombing in the back. And
yeah, I don't really. It's not really a great photobomb.
No, are you kidding me?
Disappearing.
Look at this. Look at my face right there. I'm like, ah. I think it's a great photobomb.
I guess that's not bad.
Thank you.
Your face kind of stuck there in the middle.
Okay. This is a gentleman named Gregory Ferguson, who is now in the den, and everyone
great
should.
Cosplayer.
Oh my God, so much fun all weekend long. Great costumes at our tables, playing loads of games. Had a blast with him. I got to play the very last game on the very last day. I went to the room because we were going to pack up. I got there about an hour early, and there was like an open seat at David Benavides' table. And I was like, and it had Andrew, it had Gregory, and it had Richard Moore. Andrew Grover, who's also one of our game masters.
Yes.
And I was like, can I just slip in? And they're like, yeah, well, here, grab a character. And so I got to play with them for an hour. I had so much fun. We played The Deepest Fear. And that is a very fun convention module, y'all.
I think
if you get a chance to play it. Oh, this was the picture I was looking for earlier. There's our Knights of the Goo guys again, but with a better picture of David since he was kind of caught up in the last one. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's keep going.
Poor David was cut off.
This Game Master screen that we did at the auction, here's you running a hole in the ground with it.
Yes.
You see that? And then it's sold at the auction.
And this was the prototype. So this is like, and signed by both Luke and Alphinius, and me, Alphinius. And so it's super unique because it's actually not as sturdy as the regular, but I wouldn't play with this one. I'd put that away forever because you never know, especially with Luke signing it and Gerald Gyzaengaxx ghost on there and Luke's portrait on there. And of course the Gooey Cube, Camera Mendy. Yes, there's a Gooey Cube.
Well, it's the original version of Gerald's portrait, which has changed.
Yeah. I mean, it's very unique. It was, as a collector's item, it's got some potential.
It is certainly a one of a kind.
It is.
So, but it sold at, I just closed out the auction post. I'd be a little hyper this morning.
Clicking the buttons.
Okay. Anyway, all I have to say, it was very cool.
Maybe a little bit of
because then we auctioned off. Now I watched this auction for like 2 hours waiting for this for
it to come up.
Yes, I did. I was like excited to see how much it was gonna sell for.
Show yourself, come on.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You gotta tell a story.
Okay, so I'm sitting there. I've been sitting there for 2 hours. Adam and Roderick, who's one of our game masters, have been sitting next to me programming because they're both programming geeks. So I have sat there for 2 hours with literally programming. What was really funny was that someone else who was next to us goes, oh, it sounds like you're doing like CSS right now or something like that. He's like, and then he got in on it too. So the three of them are just geeking out. And I'm like, when is this thing going to come up? And then it finally came up and I'm so excited. I'm snapping pictures and it sells for $1,200.
$1,250.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then Roger goes, Kim just bought that. And I was like,
Kim who?
He said Kim. He did, but you are Alphinius is Kim. And I was like, what? No, he did it. I was like, Kim Schubert? That's his name. Anyway, and he's like, yeah, he just bought it. And I'm like, why? Why did this just happen? I was so excited. Anyway, so I run over there to where Alphinius is like trying to check out. And I'm like, did you just buy the screen that we just brought out specifically for the auction? And then you can take the story from there about what you were trying to do.
You go and tell it.
Okay, I'm just so enthusiastic about it, and you're so tired. Okay.
And she's so frustrated with me. She was frustrated with me.
I was.
Like, why would you do that? We got. I mean, anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so then he gifts the screen back.
I had a strategy.
Yeah, I know you had a strategy, and it was great. And so he gifts the screen back to Luke, and then Luke goes back on the microphone again and is like, okay, so Alphinius just gifted this back to us, and so let us double it. And so it sold for really $24.50.
Because it sold for another $1,200.
Yes. So.
And the person who didn't get it was very happy to get it.
Exactly. So it all worked out in the end. But
and
yes.
Ms. Goo wrote a check and sent it off.
Very nice. And we supported, and I mean, it was great. They raised, I think, over 85,000.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah, for Wisconsin's children in support of
children. It's not St. Jude. I apologize. Yes,
yeah, with Extra Life.
Yes,
yeah.
With Extra Life. Yes.
So that was awesome. Anyway, and I cried because. Okay, I'm just going to tell one more little story from the auction. The auction is a very special part of GaryCon. But they auctioned off a lunch with Luke and Bushra, and these two gentlemen were just going back and forth. It got up to $4,000, and then the gentlemen both agreed to pay $4,000 and both attend the lunch. So it sold for $8,000, and it just touched my little heart. Yeah. My little cold heart was just like, oh, I can't handle this. Okay, anyway, it was wonderful. Sorry, now back to, we're almost done.
Back to our regular schedule programming.
Okay. So here you are with Kelly and Stefan.
Yep.
Just living it up.
Yep. We had a good time.
Here's Neil, exhausted on the bus on the way back.
Looking good right there.
But like he's got his glasses on. Yeah, he's got his choker. Yeah. I'm just saying.
He's sporting the threads, as they say, Camera Mindy. Do they still say that?
No. I don't think I've ever. But maybe it's made its way back in. But I have never heard that before. Okay.
He's damning the duds.
Here's Austin running the Darkness and Gyzaengaxx. Now, I'm going to aside on Darkness and Gyzaengaxx here. I'll put myself back on the screen. Now, it is commonly known amongst our game masters that Darkness and Gyzaengaxx is the most difficult module that we have to run, especially for our convention, because it is a dungeon crawl with very little role play, lots of puzzles, lots of fights. So it can get a little repetitive, and it's hard to keep the players engaged. And so I had this whole discussion with Austin and Alexander and Roderick about whether we were potentially going to replace our line of Darkness and Gyzaengaxx games that we're going to run at Gen Con with a version of Shadows and Gyzaengaxx, which is more roleplay heavy, a lot more character interactions and stuff like that. But Alexander has never had an issue running Darkness and Gyzaengaxx. Alexander is an incredibly experienced convention GM, as is Austin, as is Roderick. But Alexander had figured out a mechanic to put into Darkness and Gyzaengaxx that made it incredibly engaging for the players. And I'm going to tell you what the mechanic is right now. So if you are running Darkness and Gyzaengaxx, I recommend you do this. Take one of the NPCs down the dungeon with you and run them like an annoying assistant for Gyzaengaxx, who's like judging them and like challenging them, kind of like if you've ever watched Mulan, the Emperor's assistant who's always like taking notes and stuff like that.
Skinny, annoying.
Yes, have an NPC go down with them because it first off gives the GM an out if you like need to give a clue or need to push them along some way. You can have this NPC do it for you. And then on top of that, it really provides a role play opportunity for the players to engage with a character, and it just keeps it from being so repetitive. And Roderick took this advice from Alexander, and he ran Darkness. He'd already run it once that week, and he ran it the second time and a third time with that suggestion. And he said it completely changed the experience for the players at the table. So that is a suggestion. We're going to write up and put inside.
Yeah, we just put a little.
We're gonna read this first.
Yeah.
And put it in there as a suggestion for.
But remember, Darkness and Gyzaengaxx, we really took only the first tiny piece of it, right? Because you actually.
Well, that's what you run at a 4-hour convention.
Correct. That's the only option we have, and then the Oculix being the final encounter.
And everybody loves, but sometimes they don't get to the Oculix.
They don't get there.
Yes. Yeah. So
it was definitely a puzzle heavy combat heavy.
And dungeon yes.
Dungeon crawly, right?
Yes.
Now, the truth of the matter is there are people who like that.
They do.
They don't want to be sitting around talking.
I did not say that people did not like it. I said it's the most challenging one for them to run because anyway, but with that little change, it changed everything.
Well, it brings an element that people enjoy, right?
Yes.
And I thought it was brilliant on Alexander's part. Really good idea.
So
and you ran it with Austin, correct?
Oh, I did not run Dark. I ran a Dark Tides Night.
I played it with Austin.
No, I played the Deepest Fear with David. Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, that's just a suggestion. If you ever run Darkness and are going down that dungeon to keep the players engaged. Okay. Sorry, that was a long aside, but relevant to other things aside from Gary Con. Okay, quickly. Alphinius Goo killed me in the Tower of Gyzaengaxx. Death by Toad.
It was, and poor Jessica was. There's marks.
Alphinius killed me in the Tower of Gyzaengaxx. I don't know how he died. And then I think also Jim posted, Alphinius killed me in the Tower of Gyzaengaxx. So tell us what the Tower of Gyzaengaxx is exactly.
So really, it is a AD&D. So it's THAC0, right, and saving throw matrices that already exist, and a bunch of things that I had to think about it a little bit, but I got right back there. It was kind of like riding a bike. And it is a series of encounters that you pretty much have as much latitude as you want. It runs for 2 hours. And the objective is to make it as difficult on the party as possible, challenging with combats, puzzles, all kinds of things like that. And I brought terrain and zipped it up a little bit. I think I got a nice little series of encounters, gave them some options of ways they could go, and did give them, I felt like, a chance to survive. I felt like that. We'll see what Jim Kinney might disagree with me, but or others. But anyway, Jessica almost made it. Jessica was the last character, and this horrible toad thing had come out, and it was attacking, and she had a 75% chance to escape, and that was rolled, and unfortunately, she did not get the 75%. So then she had to fight the toad. Now the toad had already been damaged quite dramatically, and she had initiative on the toad, but she missed.
Oh,
so that's why Jessica perished, because Jessica would have made it had she killed the toad.
Poor
so
Jessica.
She had a chance to win the whole thing. So yes, I did do a TPK.
But by winning the whole thing, you actually lose because you only get the swag if you.
Yeah, but I would have stamped their thing anyway. It would have been a pretend death. So anyway, so they have lots of encounters that they've made up ahead of time. You can choose them as you will. I made up my own because I wanted to just add my own flavor to it, and of course brought terrain and added a little more zippiness. I think it was fun. I think it was the players were great. They were engaged. They were laughing. They were moaning, they were swinging their axes and casting their spells and doing all that stuff. It was great. It was wonderful fun.
All right, this is my last thing from Gary Con.
Mr. Patrick.
I'm just glad to see that he's writing these things again. So this was an affidavit for the arrest of Lawrence based on the fact that he murdered a deer.
Little Bambi.
Yeah. Anyway, Patrick, you made me laugh. Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts on Gary Con before we move to other social media?
No, it was wonderful. Many people said it was their best Gary Con ever. We certainly had a great time, but I can't say that I didn't enjoy previous Gary Cons, as this much, seeing the people and friends and all that stuff. But we did very, very well with sales, better than we've ever done. That was wonderful to have that happen. And, made some new friends. We got some new friends in the Gooey Den and new friends in the Discord, and that's great. And I don't know if anybody new who's watching the stream who's never watched before.
I've had a few first-time chatters. And one of my players from my Dark Tides Night session is in the chat. Team Kylan, hello. So,
so just for you new people, this is kind of what we do, right? So it's a very low budget production.
Low budget production. Do not have high expectations of us.
But we do think we bring some interesting stuff, and Camera Mandy wants to do all kinds of adjustments to.
I am not the person driving that, but I do. After speaking to the Crooked Moon guy, Derek, I need to send him an email because really, I had such a good conversation with him. I am feeling more energized about, you guys can tell, I'm like buzzing. I'm so happy. Yeah. But also I haven't been in the studio for like 2 weeks and I haven't done this really.
Camera Mendy,
so I missed y'all.
Really fun things we can do with Goo Morning Zyathé. Some of the things we talked about that we never brought into play.
Yes, because
More
we have
characters.
like how many 35 open projects currently. We got to get advertising go. I mean, a podcast with like the readings of like, yeah, no. There's reasons.
I do think I know you've been pushing me on this reading thing. And
we have got to do it.
I've had quite a few people come up to me and say, "Will you please just read Zyathé?"
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, this was magnificent.
Oh yes, Chris posted these hats from a convention in Baltimore, and they were beautiful and purple.
Chris also posted the games and stuff.
I grabbed it. Here it is. That I did grab.
I mean, look at that.
I mean, this is when I look at our product line, and I'm like, what have we done?
Look at that line.
It is beautiful.
Wow. And there's more coming.
I'm aware. But Lawrence is here now, so that's not my problem anymore. I have other worries now.
You have a problem because he's dancing on tables. That's a different problem.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is really funny.
This was so funny.
John posted.
John put some things.
I know.
Just make me cackle.
It's horrible. Name something in a dungeon that can burn for an hour. A family of goblins. And then
it's like, what?
Yeah. Anyway, because she's such a sweet-looking blonde lady.
Burning the poor family of goblins that burn for an hour.
I think that Andy, Greg, and Richard, who I was playing with, were surprised at how brutal I can be in a campaign. You think I'm really nice.
When you say Richard, you mean Rick. Yes,
Rick,
Rick goes by
yes,
yes, of
Rick
course.
Moore.
I'm sure Rick was like, God.
I was playing Calliope the Barbarian, and I'm just saying. Okay.
Kill them all.
This is from Gracie. Yeah. Great piece of art from Gracie. I have another one from Adrian, who's been posting. I think this is probably my favorite piece that he's done so far.
Adrian is a marvelous artist.
Yeah, very epic. Yes, and then I got this one from Harry, and I really like this mini. Like the detail on this thing. Have you seen this?
I've never seen this, Camera Mandy. But see, the problem is because of GaryCon, I was doing so much craziness, and all those things going. I've never seen this.
Isn't it good?
Yes.
He's Lord Ooh. Yeah.
Oh,
great.
Very interesting. We'll have to figure out how to bring him into the mud mounds, Harry. It has not lost my mind. Yes. Nor has the Isle of Unduulu. So, just adding to the line, Camera Mendy.
Porthalis is trying to sell Lawrence's prints of him dancing. That is not part of the product line.
Porthalis to you.
That is not. That is not part of the product line. Okay. I have a couple more, and then we can get into your tour. Okay. So this was actually posted a little while ago on March 9th, but I wanted to bring it to the Goo Morning Zyathé audience. Basically, Randy had asked if we could do a session for table talks with Todd about digital terrain. And so if anyone has interest in this, if you know of any things we should explore during this talk, I would be interested in seeing that and hearing that.
Yes, because I've been looking at a number of different, and people posted in this, by the way. So, in fact, Camera Mendy, we should make sure we got to capture all that.
We got rated. Hi, Lurchagon. Hello.
Hello, Raiders.
Anyway,
so we want to do a session or two on this with Todd and others who to discuss these wonderful digital tools that are now available that people can make these things for their tables and for their games. So we wanted to talk with some folks about that. And if you got a good experience, and we do have to, Camera Mendy, make sure we grab all the people, because a couple people made mention in that post about their experiences.
And we should actually have multiple people on.
I think that's right.
With people who have experience with these digital terrain.
Actually show the application and all that stuff. It'd be fun.
Yes.
It'd be a lot of fun. So.
Okay, just a couple more little things, and then we'll get to the tour. So this was a great shot from Joey. Yes. Finished the chapter 1, and I really liked how he used these snack clips. Yes.
Well, many do this, Camera Mendy. This is a thing that has begun to be I know Jens does this with our portrait arts and our handouts, and it really does. It's nice. It's a very, very good execution or usage.
And it like is a great way to show, because we have so much art,
Yes.
and to really set the scene of what everyone's looking at. So
Yeah, I think I've gone way over the number of handouts and environs as well.
now we are going to do something interesting for our convention GMs. So we are going to start spiral bounding the handouts for our convention GMs, so that way they're a little bit more manageable at the table.
Well,
but I've
the
also
other thing is
seen
they have to run so many multiple games right in a row,
Yeah.
trying to get everything back organized,
Yes.
right? But I still don't think you want them spiral bound for the
No,
books.
no, this is only
people
for-
can then do exactly.
So
what
if
it
you
is.
run now, and here's the cool thing, if you run adventures for us at the conventions, you get to keep
You
your
keep the
materials,
margin,
and so that means you get a very unique thing with like spiral bound handouts. But I saw another trick that I really liked. So someone took a frame, like one of those stands, like a frame stand.
Yeah, the frame stands.
Yeah, and they were just putting the art on the frame stand, and I thought that was really clever too.
Yes.
So yeah.
I like to, hand it out. Now, as you know, Cameron Mendy, the original of portraits and handouts, I use artwork. I've always used artwork as part of my tales. I love terrain though and miniatures, and so I haven't done a ton of portraited arts because I literally at my table pick the miniature that is the character, that is the person that they interact with, and so only sometimes would I do portraited artworks, right? And so.
Some of us don't have that time or collection of
Yes,
minis.
right? That was
Yep.
that was why we did it, right? Was the idea of being able to give people a good visualization without having to go out and and spend their entire life savings and fortune
Right.
on little miniatures and getting them painted.
This was a really sweet thing this should have actually been in the GaryCon one. Josh posted a really sweet, who I believe is Jairiki.
Yeah, it was very
Who's
nice.
in the chat. Before I forget, if you were on the fence about jamming for Gooey, as a newbie who ran a couple games here at GaryCon, I want to encourage you to consider it. We all know the materials themselves are extremely DM friendly. My experience was really great. Mandy made it, so I didn't mean to just pull things. I did not mean to just pull it. But
can you highlight that little
no,
portion right there?
Mandy made it so easy for me. I only am able to do this because of the support of the Get team, just to be very clear. I was provided all the tools I needed to run a fun and successful table, literally met at guest registration with a packet with everything I could have asked for. I'm far from one of those crazies, pros running 16 hours or more, but my 2 games were a blast. Highly recommend taking a chance. So I'm just saying
and also we don't demand run for 4 days and all of that kind of, that's not what we do. We want people to have a fun time at the convention, not just, work the whole time. So
right now,
Ms. Goo is all over my butt, Cameron Mendy, about getting my beard trimmed. She says, you went away, you didn't get it trimmed before you left. Now she says, I look like a ragamuffin again.
I mean, the good news is you're surrounded by people who don't care that much.
I have rosy cheeks, Cameron Mendy. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I've edited your photos many times over the years, and so yes,
I'm like Santa Claus.
Yes, I do like cheeks. I do a lot of skin smoothing and. Anyway, okay.
I look like I have makeup on in some of your photographs, Cameron Mendy.
I'm sorry, that's what you do sometimes. It's called Photoshop. Okay.
Photoshop, yeah, that's what we do.
Yes. Everyone, if you are interested in game mastering for Gooey Cube at any of these conventions that we go to, so that's Genghis, Gary, and Gen Con. However, I'm also looking at running games at 2 of the other conventions we're going to, which is Page. Yes, Gamehole and Page.
And you saw that you had a couple people mention about game mastering for us at Page.
Yes. So
I've been trying to tag you.
Yes, and I will respond back to those next week because I was trying to get all the paperwork and all the marketing stuff done this week. So all that to say though, send an email to gooeygames@gooeycube.com. They will do an interview with you, make sure that everyone's on the same page and that it's a good fit. And then you'll get added into Game Master's Discord channel and a Facebook page. And that's where most of the primary contact comes up. And when we have Gen Con coming up, we post in those places to say, hey, we're looking for Game Masters for this. So yeah, gooeygames@gooeycube.com. And it's a really fun time. And we have such a special community of people. And we have.
You should put that in the chat, gooeygames@gooeycube.com.
I will do that. Okay. Now it is your turn to take the reins and do your tour.
So this is part 6, yes?
Part 6.
So for all of you who are new, do not worry. I will catch you up just a little bit. We have been doing a walkthrough, excuse me, of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx. So, excuse me, Cameramendi, I have a little frog in my throat, as they say. So
wait, is it a frog or is it a toad? And is it going to kill you?
I have a toad in my throat. Nobody wants a toad in their throat. That's disgusting. All right, those little warts. You get warts in your throat. Nobody wants warts. All right, so we have decided we're going to do this. We're going to do walkthroughs of all of our modules and materials. So if you're playing, don't metagame, but you're going to get a little overview here, but it's not over the. We're not giving away super secrets everywhere all the time. But we've been talking about the Tower of Gyzaengaxx, which is the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx, because Gyzaengaxx is perished. And of course, there's a lot of things that happen. But ultimately, if you want to go to the next slide, Cameramendi, ultimately, the entire thing revolves around a little town, really a village, called Efholm, which is in the Barrows region, which is also called the Barrowlands. And where there is a place called Gyzaengaxx. And Gyzaengaxx was originally just an homage that we put in to give love to one of the creators of the magnificent game Dungeons & Dragons. But through a series of wonderful circumstances, we of course met Marvelous Luke, and we came together and began a wonderful, what I think is going to be a wonderful campaign setting and wonderful series of adventures that will take place in the West Barrows, which is to the left there, going towards Stridon Shore, the East Barrows, where Avalon Hill and Gyzaengaxx can be found, the incredibly wonderful and fey Mythendel, and of course that area of the Mithril Mountains between Hazendravel, which is the gnomish dominated city, and Gluvoik stronghold, which is the human dominated city above Mithrington, which is where the dwarves abide. So anyway, so this is the tale, and what happens is you go ahead to the next slide, Cameramendi. And what happens is you come to this area and you meet the Gyzaengaxx family, who are the children of this one.
Well, Luke is the child.
Children and grandchildren,
yes.
Right? Children-in-law, children and grandchildren. So Lucage, so go back to that one. So we have Lucage and Bushira, Gyzaengaxx, and their 3 daughters. And you get to meet all of them as part of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx, and you find out that something has happened, and you get sort of employed by Lucage to go and help him to find a way to find out what has happened to his father. And this is the tale, right? And so this is marvelous artwork by Benjo of Gary, posing as Geralt. And it's got the egg amulet around his neck and the marvelous egg belt. Remember this image, by the way. Keep this one in your mind as we progress through this tales, because I think for those of you who are new, it's really fun. So now we have to go to this tower, which is atop this Avalon Hill. And the whole adventure takes place going to there, and you get to meet some marvelous people. You get to encounter some really interesting creatures. There's some puzzles and things that come out, and you have to ascend this Avalon Hill, where you can see that tower on the left-hand side. And that tower is depicted in one of our wonderful maps by Edvard, which you get to, of course, show your players and give you the tower itself, which is called the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx, because everyone believes the wizard has perished. And there's a whole story of tales that go long beyond this and how it ended up happening. All of that is told in the information, but I don't want to go back over that because we've done it in previous sessions. But I did want to give a little bit of a highlight as we go forward. So you can go to the next one, Cameramendi. So I just want everybody to know, because I'm super proud of our maps. I'm always proud of our maps. We've got a number of people, Stephen and Smashcase and others, who have helped us craft these wonderful maps.
These are what the maps are going to look like when you get them in your...
This is not what they look like. This is, I showed this because I want everybody to see what happens afterward. So if you go back, Cameramendi, you can see and by this a little low res, so bear with me. They're much higher resolution in the actual printed. But when I save this too low res. So that's why everything's kind of pixelated. So if you go to the next one, You can see there's the center area with this the spiraling staircase that goes up to above, and it's just really wonderful, beautiful, beautiful work. And I want to call attention to you to the staircase, the circular staircase on the top left. Gosh darn it, Mandy, I'm sorry about that. I feel badly that I got these pixelated imagery. I don't usually do that.
It's fine. So that stairway is what takes you down to the basement?
Yes, and this is the new part that we have not really talked about.
This part isn't.
We've covered the travel to the Avalon Hill. We've covered up on top of Avalon Hill. We've covered what goes on in the tower. And
you can find all of these tours on our YouTube page.
Yes, but if we do this, we're going to put them all together, and we're going to do walkthroughs of all of our stuff. So it'll be fun. So now you have two ways to enter the basement, and literally they're both right. Actually, there's a third. So there's two ways to enter the basement, though, that are obvious. There is the stairwell from above, the circular stairwell from above, but also this little external stairwell that allowed crates and other things to be brought into the basement for storage. And so you could enter the basement by going outside and coming in, but there are some complexities with that. So this is how you go into the basement, and you can go to the next one. So there is the whole basement map. Isn't that pretty? I mean, it's so really wonderful. And it's dominated by this central area, which is where Gyzaengaxx had quite a number of monsters that were in stasis, for lack of a better term. And when his tower was accosted and the wizard was slain, the tale is wonderful.
Spoilers.
But that's how Geralt becomes the ghost, right?
Yes.
Part of his contingency magics actually released these monsters. So it wasn't that it was an accident. It was actually believed to be his intentionality. It's because they would then go around and help deal with any of those who were trying to accost his tower. And the other thing is that he had wards that put in place and force walls that wouldn't allow people to enter, but they did allow non-intelligent creatures to exit. So there's a whole wonderful thing that happens there. But this is the basement. And the basement is, if you keep going, cameraman, we got a few little rooms we'll just look at real quick so everybody can get an idea. First of all, there is the cold storage, which comes down from the kitchen above. This is the third way you could theoretically enter the basement. You could bust out a wall here and enter the basement from the cold storage. And there's also the dumbwaiter there. Everybody loves a dumbwaiter because you can go up and down the dumbwaiter with one of your characters.
Yeah, but you could also get trapped.
Oh yeah,
dumbwaiter.
It could be a really dumb move. You see what I did there, cameraman?
I mean, I feel like it was low hanging fruit. So
okay, I don't get credit.
No.
So this is where all the fawns, the marvelous fawns, who were the servants of Gyzaengaxx, as well as the staff. There were a number of staff members who made there. There's a fawns right there, which was the fawns was one of the things Luke actually drew when he was a kid, and of course, as we know, it's kind of named after Arthur Fonzarelli. Right? Actually, you got to be old to know about that. How many people in the chat know about that? We talked about it already. Anyway, that's so you see there's the staff area. You get to see that. Keep going to the next one, camera Mendy. Thank you. And there's a wonderful artifact room that really will confound players and probably bother them because you can't take these artifacts out. They are very strongly warded.
I kind of like that though. Like as a player, sometimes it's good to throw in something that
you don't get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And besides, you'd be pilfering Gyzaengaxx's tower. Right, so there's some of that as well.
I mean, you brought that into Dark Tide's Night. Like, there's a similar concept there. If they try and take something from the room, you roll, and they have to figure out that they can't take the stuff. And like when you roll damage on the people trying to take stuff out of the room, the look on their face is always, every single time I've seen this played or played it myself, they're just like, what? Yeah. Yeah. So I think that throwing something like that in there, like not giving them what they want, I think that's a solid.
I also think, Cameraman, we do a really good job of our map making because we even put toilets in our place.
Oh, is that what those are? Is that what those are? Okay, that's funny.
So if you're a Fonz and you need to make a poopy, you can go right there.
You're not just going in the hallway. Yes. There's a special place, and it's mapped out.
A huge pile of trash and stuff that's in there. I mean, Stephen Dugan did these and just really, really did a marvelous job. I mean, really, really, really well. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. I lost my place. There we go.
And also, if there's any questions in the chat, we can answer those as well.
Someone is asking, I wonder what happened to the fawns after, like, post Tomb of Gyzaengaxx.
So the fawns,
spoilers.
The fawns are there, and you actually, a number of them were actually corrupted and turned to bad guys. But a number of others actually could become your allies while you're in the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx.
I think it depends on your game master.
And then our intention, and this will be coming up in the future, our intention was that actually the tower could become a bit of a base of operations for the players. Of course, the ghost is still there. There's some other complexities with the zombified Geralt zombified body. We got to deal with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think it would be a marvelous little base of operations with all kinds of things to still discover. So anyway, this of course is the dominating area. This is where the monsters were kept, and they escaped, and you get a good idea if something came out. So go back a second. You get a good idea when you're there because the doors are pushed outward. You can you see that, cameraman. You see how they're kind of pushed outward.
See, right, I like that little, like, if the players really look at the art.
The goal is to create maps that can be blown up, used in VTT, all that kind of stuff, best as we can. It's not gridded. That's the only thing that Andy gives me a hard time about. But I don't want to restrain our maps to a 10 by 10 grid. Or
they will
5 by
take
5
forever.
Grid. Well, it's not just that. It's just restraining the creativity of them.
Fair.
That for me. That's so. You just gotta do your best with a. Personally, I think the grid system needs to be evolved a little better so that it can be, and I hope that they will do that in the future so that maps.
Shatterborn says you can overlay a grid with about any VTT. So you yourself could do the grid yourself.
It just doesn't always work perfectly, right? Because the grid is half a square. But for me, and the problem is the VTTs, you got to move by a square by square. And so I understand Andy's right. It is a little problematic for VTT players. But my thought, and again, like I said, for me, the best way to do the VTT is for it to be able to actually fit in the grid works for the map, not the map works for the grid, because that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, the proverbial horse, as they say, cameraman. So anyway, but it's marvelous, and the artwork is fantastic, and we want to have maps that players can really look at and feel like they're there, right? That's the goal. So you can also see on the right there's where the fawns have their recreation. The staff would have their recreation. There's a little table in there, and there's some clues and things you find. And,
I don't love that they live in a basement.
Well, it's not bad. Come on,
the fawns never see the light of day.
Poor little fawns. Okay, so in the basement there are not a lot of encounters. There is one that we recommend probably comes in the basement, because if you've done a good job, you have been foreshadowing the Horosh. And the Horosh is a really scary monster that may have actually attacked the party in stealth earlier, a single member of the party. So this is a monster that moves around, and we wanted that to be there, and it's really a wonderful, wonderful piece of art. And scary looking monster. Right?
Grey Wolf says, looks like my ex.
With all respect, Grey Wolf, I think you should have had a better thought process.
Or maybe that's their thing.
Oh, that's the thing. They want to look like that. Anyway, so the Horosh should, at this point in time, if it hasn't come out already, the Horosh should come out in the basement. And then the other is the next one, which is because there are basically two BBEGs in the adventure. There is the upstairs BBEG, which is Kararika, who is the Demi-Lich. Now, before you go, oh my God, Demi-Lich, what are you doing? Kararika is damaged, so she is not as powerful as a normal Demi-Lich. So the character levels of 6 to 8 work fine based on our best level balancing. But she has some minions with her. She actually has a couple of undead creatures, but that Minotaur-looking creature is actually a demon spawn. And so this is a potent little encounter, and it is the anti-climax. That's the first climax, right? That's before you get to the climax, Cameron Mendy, isn't that right?
Sure.
The anticlimax.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat, let me know about that. I think it is when you have the anticlimax and then.
Or
the
is an
climax.
anticlimax something that just really sucks? Climax that just didn't work out.
That was a terrible climax.
climax.
Actually, it's really boring because it's anticlimax.
Yeah, exactly.
So you go into a room and there's nothing there but like some dust.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you have to deal. This is the big combat, and so you deal with Kararika and her minions. I love the artwork. Benjo did this piece, and I think it's just marvelous. So, all right. So now this is the next part.
Okay, before we do that, before everyone has to leave, we need to put in, because you can win.
Oh yeah, because you get another chance to enter.
Yes, so you can win a proof copy of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx
Signed.
in a few weeks.
Signed
Yes,
by
a signed
Alphinius.
one. But we're doing entries for this. And so put
And
into the
there's going
chat.
to be an email that's going to go out, so you'll get another chance to get an
And a
entry.
Facebook.
And there'll be one in the Facebook and one in the Discord. So you'll
So-
have multiple chances to get entries and add to your odds of winning.
Hashtag. Hat. I just...
Hashtag hat.
Yeah, for no reason other than I'm looking at my hat and my camera and I couldn't think of anything else. So hashtag hat will get you an entry for the proof copy of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx, which we will pull in a few weeks. All right.
All right. So this is the beginning of the moving down into Avalon Hill. And so when you come to this point, there's been a number of things that have happened and clues that have been dropped and items that have been found that can help you to understand that there is this something beneath us in Avalon Hill. And this is the only way to get there, though we had pondered having it be able to be accessed by the caverns, but this is ultimately where we decided. So this is called, go ahead to the next slide, cameraman. This is called the deep lift shaft. And to get in there, you need to find this first. This is called the warding key.
Mm.
And so that's just to open the door. Okay? But Kararika has another thing, which is called the deep lift talisman.
Mm.
And that's why you have to fight Kararika and her minions, because if you don't fight Kararika and her minions, go ahead to the next one, cameraman.
Okay.
If you don't find Kararika and her minions, you can't go down this shaft.
And you need to go.
And you need to go down this shaft. And you can, while you come to this place, and on the wall, there's another clue. So we've given lots of clues. I don't think it's, I think it's actually easier to solve than maybe it should have been. But that's okay. It wasn't designed to be a super challenging puzzle. But if you go to the next one, it says, bring the talisman or 4 shards from that which I carry in order to descend into the depths below. Should you not heed my words and know the truth of them, you shall surely suffer a most terrible fate.
I just want to comment on your last thing about the puzzle. I have a very strong belief that puzzles in D&D are way more complicated for players than game masters ever imagine. So
you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because they can be. Now, honestly, I'm going to tell you, let me give you a DM secret. Can I do that?
Yes. I love a DM secret.
Sometimes whatever answer they come up with can be the answer.
Just change it. If they think that they're being so clever, like, what a great experience.
Show yourself, cameraman.
Oh my God. All I'm saying is, look at this. Look what I have done. Look what I have
God's
done here. What have I done?
The deep lift shaft.
They
was in
think
your
that they're
face.
being so clever and they're really putting a lot of thought into something, and then they think they've solved it. There's nothing, and if you really see that they've tried, like, not like they just threw something out there, but there's nothing so satisfying as a player as feeling accomplished.
Like they did it.
I'm smart. That's what they're saying to themselves. I'm more clever than I ever thought possible. And then you're like, shut it down. Or you could be like, lift them up.
Yes.
So,
and
anyway.
I'm just saying that, that if they come up with a great answer, and it's not necessarily the answer that you came up with, it doesn't have to always be the one answer. You can fudge that around a little bit, and for the sake of the story, because ultimately it's the tale that's important, right? It's the heroic achievements and the tragedies that sometimes come. It's not sitting around there for an hour trying to have people just figure out what the damn answer is.
Roll the dice. Nothing happens. Roll the dice. Nothing happens. Yeah. Anyway.
Now the four shards are the second option. The 4 shards are the staff of 7 shards, which is this magnificent staff that Gyzaengaxx carried, and all of those staff pieces are found in the tower.
Awesome.
So it's wonderful. I mean, I think it's a great little thing, and there is the deep lift talisman, done by our marvelous TJ did a number of magic items for us.
Very nice.
So anyway, so that's kind of how. So you get down in the basement. That's kind of the anticlimax. You deal with Kararika and her minions. You could do it now. The game master has an option to have Kararika at a different location. That's actually in our materials. And of course, you always have the option of having Kararika and her minions anywhere, right? But in terms of recommendations, we had some options. So that's going to be a great combat. I think it's challenging and tough, and people who like combat, it'll float their boat, as they say. So go to the next one, Randy. Now,
is he down the shaft?
Now, I want to remind everyone of this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a fun thing that we did in the tale. So Geralt Gyzaengaxx gets killed, right?
Why is his belt flipped?
I actually think I had I flopped a couple of these images when I imported them.
I see.
Because I think the original image I was putting them over the top was flopped. And so then automatically it will flop the image when you import it. So that's why he's backwards. But way to see that, Cameron Wendy. Excellent eye.
I solved the puzzle.
But Geralt gets killed by this thing that we'll find out about in the next portion of the tale. But we talked about it already. It's the rat. And his body rises and can't be destroyed. And there is something you need from Geralt's, which is actually around his neck in this image. You have something you need from Geralt's zombified body, so you have to take it on. And it's a tough little encounter, but the problem is it comes back within a few hours. No matter what you do, you could burn it, you could disintegrate it, whatever you do, and Geralt's zombified body keeps coming back. So we think in the future, when hopefully the tower becomes a potential base of operations, or certainly a place that the party might frequent as they're in the area of Gyzaengaxx, the environs of Gyzaengaxx, the Barrows region, that they have to deal with Geralt's zombified body more than once. So we're excited about that. So Geralt's zombified body could certainly end up down in the basement as well. One more.
Okay.
I think we have one more or two more.
The fawns again.
Yes, of course. There's a picture of the fawns. We had that up earlier, and you can go to the next one.
Okay. So
next week, part 7, Beneath Avalon Hill, the Caverns of Gyzaengaxx. So as Easter eggs abound in the tomb of Gyzaengaxx, and of course we all know about the Caverns of Gyzaengaxx, which was one of the famous adventurers that Gary wrote. This nod does not only nod to that, it also nods to Zyathé, which is the marvelous world created by Piers Anthony in a number of tales, beginning with a story called A Spell for Chameleon. And at the time that Gary was doing all this stuff, there was so many wonderful fantasy authors, but Piers Anthony was one of the best. So we wanted to give a little nod to that as well. So we have nods not just to early D&D, we have nods to popular culture at that time, all kinds of stuff. But look at that. Isn't that map magnificent there, Cameron Mendy?
It is.
Steven did that.
Nice.
So really, some wonderful artworks that go along with it. Can't wait to show it to you. Are we going to do this next week?
Yes.
Can't wait to show it to you next week.
Awesome. Well, we're going to raid Lord Kusamba.
Let's do it.
So
everybody, hang in for just a minute while we raid.
Okay. Well, let's close up the show.
Okay, so we have to close up the show and then we're
going to raid.
And then we're going to raid.
Yes.
Okay, so don't leave even though I'm going to say may all your adventures be sticky or something.
For the
like
YouTube
that, right?
people, yeah.
Yes, for all you YouTube people, may all your adventures be sticky. Now we're going raiding. Ha ha! How was that, Cameron Mendy?
Let me see. Did I do it? I think it's raiding. Raid now. Are you doing it? Raid now. Okay.
Raid now.
I think I did it. I think we're there.
Is anybody saying that? Don't we see something?
No, it did. We went over to Lord, so I think we're there. So I'm going to shut off the stream now.
Okay, so we're in there and everybody can see it and all that stuff because I don't get to see anything where I'm sitting. Right
I know.
Now.
Yeah, they're raiding.
Raid on, people.
Yeah. Okay.
Jay Scott, Lord Kusamba, marvelous fun.
Oh.
And thank you for your joining us today and for being with us always so often on these Saturdays and making them so special for us. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend.